So let's go ahead and work on our pickup system right now. So we're going to right click here and do a new folder, and I'm going to call it pickups or pickup whatever. Of course, I'm gonna add it to my favorite here, and so I'm going to right click here, blueprint class, and then I'm going to make it an actor for now. So we might change that later, but for now it's an actor. Going to rename it here y underscore. Once again, that y is just a prefix for YouTube tutorial. So y underscore main pickup class. So this is going to be the parent class of all our pickups. So if we want to make a pickup, we're going to do right click here, create a child. So this is called the inheritance method. So we inherit from a blueprint, so that everything we do here will be inherited or transfer over to child classes. It's just a good way of working with multiple or similar blueprints. In our case here, pickups. So this is our main pickup class. Let's go ahead and open that, and then of course here we have a default scene root. So in this case, you can make a you can make a skeletal mesh as your root component, because we're going to equip this pickup to the character. So we need a good way of doing that. So if you know that all your pickups are going to be skeletal meshes, you can just simply add a skeletal mesh here and make it the root component. If you know that all your pickups are going to be static meshes, then go ahead and add a static mesh and then make it the root of your main pickup class. Now, of course, this depends on the way you want to work. But since we're going to have a mix of static and skeletal meshes, we can either create two separate main classes, one that supports static meshes and the other that supports skeletal meshes. But a good way of supporting both is to make a box collision your root component. So we can add a box collision here and then drag it over the default scene root, and now it's our root component there. And of course you can change the box extent from here. You don't want to use the scale, you want to use the box extent. But that's not the important stuff. What's important here is that we want to add a skeletal or static mesh. So we can do it now or later. I think I'm going to do it later. Right now, this is our main pickup class. It doesn't have to have anything crazy in terms of visual. So it's just going to have a box collision, and that's all it's going to have. And this box collision is going to control the physics as well. So this box can simulate physics, as you can see here. We can have it true by default, but for now I think I'm going to leave it false. So this pickup class is going to represent a pickup from the data table. That's why we need a data table reference and a pickup pickup info variable, so that we can access when we want to interact with this pickup. So we're going to add a new variable here, and I'm going to call it pickup info. And it's going to be the type of the variable is going to be the if item info here. So I'm going to make it public here, and I'm going to change the category here to settings. So we just created that category right now, and we have it there. So what we're going to do here is going to add a new variable, and this time is going to be a data source. So data source is essentially just a data table. So we're going to look here for data table. And here's the data table, and we will select a object reference, and then we'll move that to the settings category as well. So whenever we make a child class of this main pickup class, we will have the chance to select a data source here. And of course we need an ID, because a data table wants an ID, or like a name inside the data table, or like a row name essentially. So all these names right here of course are row names, and if you want to search for something in a data table, you need to provide that row name. So that's why we need to add another variable here, and we're going to call it item ID, for example. So we're going to call it item ID. This time is going to be of type name, and then of course for the category here is going to be settings as well, and we'll make it public. So now we have three variables. Let's make the that one there, maybe move the pickup info at the bottom. So now we have item ID, data source, and pickup info. So this pickup info is going to be, so as you can see now, it's like none, it's empty. So the pickup class is going to use a data table to fill in all this information. So we're not going to fill it like one by one, but we're going to override it by the data from the data table, because a data table is essentially just a struct. So I'm also going to make some interfaces. I'm not sure how many we need, but for now we will create one for the interaction here. So this interface is not going to be specific to pickups. It will also work for containers or anything that we can interact with. So maybe I'll create a folder here, and I'm going to call it interfaces. So to add a interface here, we're going to go to blueprint here and blueprint interface. So we're going to call this jig interact interface. So that's our jig interact interface. So we'll use it for interacting with pickups, containers, vendors, etc. So first of all, we're going to, since not every pickup is going to, or every blueprint is going to implement this interface, what we need to do is know if we can interact with a certain blueprint. So we can say can interact, and it's going to return a true or false, so that's a boolean. So can, or we can just say result here. Okay, so this is going to be our first function here. We're going to add a new one, so on interact begin, for example. Okay, so it's going to be a normal event, and then another one is on interact end. You can also add a new function for getting the information from the pickup here. So we can say get pickup info here. So for the output here, we need the pickup info here. So we'll look for if item info, and then we'll name it here pickup info. And once again, since not everyone is going to return, for example, like a vendor is not going to return a pickup info, let's add a boolean variable here. Now we could of course make another interface for vendors, but let's just keep things simple here. So for the result here, so if it's true, then we know that we actually got a pickup info. If not, then we didn't. So pickup info and result, and that's all we need so far. So now on our main pickup class, we can go to the class settings here and then interfaces, and we can add that interface. So jig interface or jig interact interface here, and once we do that, compile, save, now we should have a interface here called get pickup info, on interact end, on interact begin. Now the yellow ones are functions that don't return anything, so normal events, and these blue ones are functions that require you to return something. So you can just right click here and then do well, I guess since it does return something, you can just double click on it, but this one you have to right click and do implement. So for this one, we're just going to right click on it, return this one, and then do true here. But of course we haven't filled this yet, so we might do that later. And of course can interact here, we're just gonna do true by default. Now when this pickup is equipped, for example, then we'll return false maybe. On interact begin here, let's just implement the event here, and then of course here as well. So later we'll when the character interacts with this pickup, we can decide to do something. Now for this pickup right here, we can use these two events to maybe show like the name of the pickup, for example. So let's actually add a widget component. So we're going to do add component, and we'll look for widget component. So it's going to have like some widget shown here. So let's go ahead and create that. So I'm going to go to the pickups here, and then maybe we'll do new folder widgets, and then we'll create a simple widget blueprint here. Let's just say pickup widget. Okay, so this is going to be shown above the pickup in the world in 3D or 2D, and then we'll decide what to do here. So I'm not sure if we need the canvas. We probably don't, so we'll just go ahead and get rid of that. We're gonna go here and make it desired, and then I'm going to add a border, and for now we're just going to just test things out and just simply add a text. So that's going to be a text here, and then maybe we can change the color for first. We can do black here. For the border here, I'm going to change the brush color to, maybe we don't need a border color. Let's just put it to 0 for now. We'll see what happens. So this one, we can put it to white once again here by clicking on here, but we can also do an outliner. So outliner is probably better that way, so we can do 3 there or 4. Let's do 4. Okay, we can change the text here to like pickup name for now, temporarily. So this is going to be the default one. Let's go ahead and rename this. So pickup name txt, and then make it a variable. Very important. And of course, go to the graph here, and then we'll make a function to update that text. So custom event update text. Okay, and then we'll grab this text component here, drag it there, and then look for set text. So we want the set text here, and for the text here, we're just simply going to drop it over the event so that it creates the node for us. So now we have this event right here that we can call from the pickup class to update that one. So now what we can do, so now we need to go back to the main pickup class and then select the widget here, and then look for the widget class, and we'll select the pickup widget here. And once again, you can do this a different way, but since in our examples we have it like shown in a on a 2D widget, this time let's go in 3D space. So let's see if we can actually see it. So far we can't. Oh, here we go, we can now. And then we're going to select draw a desired size, which is exactly what we want here. So of course this one, it can't be modified for every pickup here. So for the space here, we're going to select a screen here. So you can see it here, but you should be able to see it once in the world, once we play in the world. So let's go ahead and actually place this pickup in the world. Here we go. So now if we play, as you can see, we're going to see the name there. So we should be able to turn it on and off when we interact or stop interacting with the pickup. So that's the goal here. Let's go ahead and select it here and delete it. So by default, we're going to select the widget, go to the visibility here in the details panel, and then on invisible here, we want it to be false. So it's going to be invisible by default. So on the start interact here, if we go to the event graph, that's where we grab the information about the pickup here. So first of all, we're going to do a sequence, because when we want to get the information from the data table, we only want to do it once. And then for showing this, toggling like the visibility, that's going to be whenever we interact with the widget, right? So it's going to happen multiple times probably. But for getting the information from the data table, we want to do it once only. So we're going to do a do once node here. So next what we want to do here is we want to get the data table here, get it here, and then look for get row here. So we want to get the data table row. All right, so for the item ID, we already have it here, so we'll just plug it there. Now as you can see, it's still a wild card, because this is a general data table reference, and it doesn't know exactly what kind of data, what type of data table we're working with. So once we do this here, you can hold Alt and drag a variable to set it directly here. So once we do this, it should go there automatically. So this is going to be done once. Okay, so getting the pickup info from the data table based on the ID, the item ID, and of course the data table reference here. So that's our first step. Our second step here is we want to turn the visibility of this widget. But first, we actually need to get the widget. So get to widget object. So get user widget object. So since this is a user widget object reference, we need to cast it to our widget class name. So in our case here, it's pickup widget. So cast to pickup widget. There you go. So once we do this, we should have access to everything that this widget class offers. So in our case, we want to update the text here. So we'll just do update text. And of course, we're calling that event, and we want to update that text with what? Well, with the name from this one. So break, and then the item. Oh, of course, you could put here whatever you want. I'm just going to select the name or the display name. It's up to you what you want to do here. So of course, here you can click on hide in connected things, and it should be a little bit more organized here. So that's our first step. This is also done once. Okay, so now we can simply just toggle the visibility. So set the visibility here so since we started, we want it to be true. Okay, so this one doesn't have any children, so we don't really need to do that. But right now we will when on interact end, we definitely want to hide that visibility. So this is another reason why you want to have like a main pickup class, like a parent class, because if you just duplicate this class and you want to make another pickup, you're gonna have to do this all over again. But if we create a child, the child is going to have this by default. So let's go ahead and maybe comment all this. So okay, maybe we'll do the same color there. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually create our rifle here. So we know that our rifle is going to probably be a skeletal mesh. So what we can do here is I can go to the this one right here, and I can right click and do create a child blueprint class. So we can make this also a parent class of some other type. This could be the parent class of all skeletal pickup types. So any pickup that is a skeletal mesh or has a skeletal mesh could inherit specifically from this blueprint. So I'm going to name it main pickup class, and then maybe underscore scale. Okay, so this is our skeletal version of this one, but it's still, this one still inherits from this one. So if we open this one, as you can see, it says inherited, but everything is like anything that this class has is already included here. Now you're not gonna see it here, but it's there. So if we go to class settings here, you're gonna see that it's also inherit from the same interface. Everything is preserved, and you can override anything that you want. So for this particular one, we're going to add a skeletal mesh. So this is our skeletal mesh. So this blueprint right here is now reserved for pickups that require a skeletal mesh. Now we could add it to the main pickup class. There's no problem with that. But like I said, some pickups are going to be skeletal and some static. So if you have anything specific to skeletal meshes, this is the time to now create like some extra functions that are specific to this type of pickups. So we could definitely use this one for our rifle pickup, but I want to take it a step further and make a main firearm class. Now a class that is specific for weapons, so that I can put the firing logic there. So it wouldn't make sense to put it here or here, because for example, I need like a backpack that is a skeletal mesh. I don't want it to have any firearm logic inside this class. So that's why I'm going to now create another child of the skeletal version. This is the main one. This inherits from this one. So I'm going to create another child from the skeletal version. So right click, create a child now, and I'm going to name it firearm. Okay. So now we have a third one. So this one inherits from this one, and this one inherits from this one. And of course, this one is essentially the same thing, but now it has the skeletal mesh inherited. Okay, I can't delete it, I can't do anything, but I can add extra stuff that are specific to firearm. That's why we create child classes, to isolate the logic that you need to work with. So for this one, I'm going to make a folder here, and I'm going to call it firearm. Okay, and I'm going to drag this one right there so that I can, of course, not get confused. So there you go. So now this folder is going to include only firearm. So this is our main class, and this is where you're going to create child classes that are actually firearm. So now we can right click here and do create child blueprint, and now we can actually do for example, rifle. Okay, so this rifle inherits from the main firearm class. So here, this is where you will add all the logic about firearms, shooting, damage, etc. So for example, if I add a variable here, I can say damage, for example. So damage, and then I can make it a float and make it this. And of course, now if this is the main firearm class. Now if I go to my rifle blueprint here, I have access to the damage variable. So I can maybe make this a 50 damage, and then I can make another one that has 30, for example. But anyway, what we care about here right now is, first, let's go ahead and set the skeletal mesh. Let's go ahead and select a rifle here. So let's see if I have one here. Stock rifle, yes. So we'll work with this one right here. So this is our stock rifle right there. We can select a color, but I'm just going to select like a red here. And then for the widget here, I can do the box extent. I can change it to for the X here. Let me try 10, and then maybe another 10 maybe. So let's go ahead and move this skeletal here and try to position it like so. So now this is inside this collision box. So the first thing you want to do here is click on class defaults. So when you click on class defaults, you're going to have these settings. Remember, these settings were in the main pickup class, the first class that we created about pickups, the main, like the first ever parent class. And of course, everything carries over from child to child. So we have access to this. So we're going to do rifle, which is inside our data table here, rifle. And then of course the data source is where this ID exists, inside data weapons. And that's pretty much all we need. So just these two, and now we should be able to interact with this rifle. We can place it in the world, like so. Of course it doesn't have physics yet, but let's see. So here it is. So of course for physics, we'll let the box collision take care of that. So let's go and change the physics here. So I'm going to do it inside the main firearm class so that it applies to all firearms. So go in here, and then in the content browser here, I'm going to open this one right here. I'm going to select the box and do simulate physics right there. So I'm going to check that out. And of course for the collision here, whenever you change the simulate physics, you need to take care of the collision here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do custom. So for collision to work here, we needed to block the world static and world dynamic here. And I think that's all we need for now. Of course, we wanted to block the visibility because we will be tracing to it. And for the collision enabled here, since it's going to take care of physics and traces, we have to make it a collision enabled query and physics. You might want to separate it and make the skeletal mesh take care of query, but in our case here, we'll make it take care of both. So let's give it a try and see if we have any issues here. Let's just go ahead and do simulate here. Oops. Let me see if I can simulate here. So simulate, and there you go. So our pickup there is falling or have physics enabled. So let's go ahead and actually find a way to interact with this rifle right now. So I'm just gonna put it here. And for now we play, of course, the rifle is on the ground and nothing's going on, right? So we need a way to maybe use a line trace and maybe interact with the rifle and maybe add it to our inventory or equip it, etc. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to clear my default items here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. So now we have like a clean inventory. Nice. Later we'll make like some weapon slots and maybe some other armor slots, etc. But for now, let's just make the pickup system work. So we probably want to do it inside the character. So we'll go here and find our character. So character, here we go. So our character has nothing. These are just movements. So let's go ahead and start. Get the begin play here. Of course, on begin play, what we want to do here is start looking for pickups. Okay, so we can make a function. I'm going to rename it look for stuff. We still don't know what we could be interacting with. It could be like a pickup or a container, etc. So we're just going to do look for stuff in general. So we're going to make a timer here. So to set timer by function name. So set timer by function name here, and then I'm going to plug it here, and then copy the name of the function and then paste it here. Then I'm going to select the timer. I can do like 0.5, so every 500 milliseconds, and I'm going to make it looping here. So this is going to be our function that we were going to be looking for things to interact with in the world. Okay, so now we can go to our look for stuff here, and then I can start. We can start with the line trace here. So line trace by channel, and then of course we need the start and end location here. We can get the camera manager. So in case you have multiple cameras, so we can get the camera manager here. get player camera manager, or you can use the camera directly here. I'm just going to use the camera manager. Then I'm going to get the camera location here. So get camera location here, and then that will be my start for the trace here. And then I'm going to do plus here, so that location plus. Then we can get the maybe this get rotation here. So get camera rotation, and then get forward vector, and that will be our forward vector. So we need to multiply that by something. So vector multiplied by float, and then we can set the distance here. So maybe like 500 for now. So to check that everything is working here, we'll enable the draw debug type here. So for duration here, and for the draw time, we'll make it similar to the timer here. So 0.5. And of course here, this is the trace channel here. So if we go to the rifle and then select the box, we can see that it blocks the visibility here. So we can use the camera or visibility or create our custom channels as well. But for now, we're going to use the visibility here. So we need to make sure that we trace with the visibility here. So let's go ahead and do play here. So see if I can actually see the trace. Maybe we need like a crosshair there. So it definitely needs to be longer because we have the spring arm as well. So let's make it like 800 for now, and then we'll see if it works. And as you can see, we're tracing to the ground there. We probably need a crosshair to know what we're doing here, but essentially the idea here is that we want to trace to the weapon like that. So what we want to do here is make sure that we actually hit something. So you can just use this one and then break this on hit right there. And of course we can also use this one, but it's the same thing. So this is the hit actor. We can check if it implements the interact interface. So does implement the interface here. Which interface is going to be our jig interact interface here. So if it does implement our interface, then we know that we can interact with it. So we can do it this way. Check if the interface is implemented, or we can directly call the can interact message. So if this returns false, then we know that it's that this blueprint either we can interact with it or it doesn't implement it. So this is fun in Blueprint. In C++, you would crash if you just call an interface function directly without knowing whether it's implemented. So you would crash if it's not implemented. But since we're here in Blueprint, it's fine. We can just call this directly here. So if we can, then we can do something. So if we can start the interaction here. So on interact begin here. So we'll call this one. Make sure you use the functions that have the message logo there. So very important. So once we start the interaction there, then we should be fine here. So since we started the interaction, we need to save the reference of this actor. So when we're done interacting, we can tell it to stop interacting. So we're going to right click here, promote to variable, and then we'll call it interact actor or current interact actor, name it whatever you want. So I'm just going to set it here. So there you go. So what we're gonna do here is in the line trace here, if this returns false or this false, then what we need to do here is we need to check if this is valid. Okay, so if it's valid, we need to stop the interaction. Okay, so if it's valid, what we're going to do here is we're going to stop the interaction. So in interact, there you go. And then we want to clear the reference here. Okay, so we'll do this and then we'll clear it like that. We can also check if this is valid before doing anything, because if it's valid, that means we're currently interacting with something. But I feel like we should probably do it in the main pickup class. So basically use this result right here. So if I go to the main pickup class here, so pickups here, main pickup class, the first ever class created our pickups. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a variable and we're going to name it can interact. I guess we can add can with actor or pickup here. So this is a Boolean variable here. and we're going to change the type here to Boolean. Okay, so it doesn't have to be public, or this is specific to this main pickup class, but we can make it public. Why not? So it's going to be true by default. This is very important. Make sure it's true by default because you want to interact with the pickup by default. So this has to be true. Okay, and then in the interface function here where it says can interact, we want to return the variable instead. So now when we start the interaction here, okay, so this is the start or begin the interaction, we want to set this to false, which means that someone is interacting with this pickup, therefore this one has to be false. And once we're done, of course, when the interaction ends, then we can once again stop enable the interaction here. So this is going to work with the character here, check. And so in our case here, we actually need to do something else. So this false cannot work with this. So what we need to do here, because it's going to be false because you're interacting with the actor, and so we don't want to clear that, otherwise we're just going to be like looping there. So we need to make sure that this thing is not equal to this one. So we're going to say, is this the same as this? If it's true, then we do nothing. If it's false, then we go here. So let's give it a try here, and then we'll explain if we have to. So now if I put my thing there, as you can see, it says my rifle, and then if I look away, it's going to disappear. So now it says my rifle. You can add, like, instead of my rifle, of course, which is the name of the pickup here, you can add like press whatever to pick up the weapon or whatever, or equip based on what's going on in the game. So essentially, if we didn't hit anything that we can interact with, of course we want to end the interaction if this is something we previously started or initiated the interaction with. However, if we can, this could be that we are interacting with something. It's just returning false because we already called this event. We're already interacting with the object, therefore this is going to return false. It's like you can't interact with it twice. You have to end the interaction first, and then you can interact again. So that's why we say, okay, is it the same thing? Is it still the same thing? If it's false, then we end the interaction. If it's true, then okay, just continue doing whatever you're doing. And in our case here, just showing the text. Okay, so this is so far all we need. This piece of blueprint here is going to work for everything essentially. It's going to work for containers, vendors. They all should have the same concept. Essentially, this is an actor, so it can work also with any kind of blueprint. So just start the interaction, end the interaction, and that's it. And so later we'll decide what to do when we press a key. So that's gonna be we're probably gonna start casting to specific classes to know exactly what we need to deal with here, or continue using interfaces. We'll see. But yeah, so we're done with this one. Feel free to customize this however you want. We probably don't need this, but since we don't have a cross here, we'll just keep it there. Okay, so now we want to pick up the item when we interact with it. So this is obviously just looking for things to interact with. Then so let's go ahead and add the F key here, and then we'll use this to try and interact with something. First of all, there are two ways here. You can either use the existing interact actor here, or trace again and see. Because sometimes you might, because there's a 0.5 delay here, sometimes you might miss it. So maybe we'll just line trace the moment we press F, so just to be consistent essentially. So we don't need to rely on this giving us like a reference that could be like delayed or something. So yeah, so we're gonna trace there. So we're going to make a function for that. So we're going to call it trace to world or something like that. World. Okay, so this one is going to do the same exact thing. Now once again, you can make this into a function as well, in this case I'm just going to copy and paste. So there you go, and put it here. So we're going to trace to world, and of course since it's a function, you can also maybe, you know, choose or select whatever trace channel. Let's actually do that, why not? Power functions. So we'll do that. So we want to trace to the world, and then we want to return an actor, okay, here. So once again, this is a nice trick. If you want to return something, you can just drop it over the node of the function You see that green check icon there, and if you do that, it's going to add the return automatically. So now we need to do this, but first of all we need to make sure that we can interact with it. So can interact here, only if it's true we can do that. So if it's true, then I can return that, and if it's false we return nothing here. So this is gonna be, you can just do a sequence here, but by default it's going to return nothing if we don't get to that node. But if you want to be consistent here, so go here and finally go here. So when working with functions, when you hit this node, everything else cancels. Even if you have a sequence here, this is not gonna run here if you already returned something. Once you return, it exits the function. So this is why we have a sequence. So essentially what we're saying here, if we never get here, then continue with the sequence and then we'll return nothing. However, if we do get here, then we exit, so we never get here. So this is our function here. So we're going to trace to world and then return the actor that we can interact with. I think that this is going to be a problem because this is going to return false because since we are interacting with it. So in our case here, we actually just want to check if it implements the interface here. So yeah, maybe we should have done it differently, but since we're already committed, it's fine. So jig interact interface here. So if it does implement the interface, then let's go ahead and get the actor. Event here. So when I press F here, I can trace to world with the visibility channel, and we can simply check if it's valid. So if it's valid, now we need to figure out what kind of blueprint this is. Now, of course, you can work with interfaces here and try to figure out a system where, it works for everything. But in our case here, we're going to keep things simple, and we're simply going to cast to the main pickup class. So we cast to the parent, the absolute parent class. Unless, of course, if we need to deal with a firearm class or call firearm functions, in that case, we can cast to that specifically. But in our case here, we simply need the main pickup class, and that's it. And by the way, interfaces are also a form of casting. It's not like very different. It's essentially the same thing. We will be casting here, and if this succeeds, then we should be fine. So now that we have the exact reference, now we can get the info, for example. Get the pickup info. We can do anything we want. We can disable physics. We can do anything on this specific pickup class. In our case here, we simply need the pickup info. So I need the inventory reference from the player controller. So I need to find a way to do that. So maybe we'll create a variable here, and I'm going to call it inventory ref. But I need the player controller to supply that for me. So inventory y main inventory object reference there, and we either need to get it ourselves from the player controller or let the player controller do it. So I can simply use the possess event here. So event possessed, this is when a player controller is controlling me. Okay, then I can get the so here's the controller here. I can cast to PC tutorial here, and then I can ask for that reference, or I can tell the player controller to create the inventory and give me the reference. It depends here. So in our case here, if we go back to the player controller here, we see that the player controller creates the inventory at the begin play. So what we want to do here is actually we're gonna switch this one right here. We're actually going to let the character ask the player controller to create the inventory, then return the reference, so that we can avoid any delay in terms of possessing the pawn. We can actually do this in a function here. So let's see. Let me go ahead and cut that and do a function create inventory. Okay, and then I'm going to paste that. Everything is the same except that this one is going to return it to the character. So now once I create the inventory, then I can return it there. So that's pretty much it. Now I can go back to the character here, and I can just do create inventory. So now I know 100% sure that the inventory is available. So once we do that, we can then set the inventory reference here, and so we can have it be available in the character. You can totally leave the old setup there and just get it from here. So inventory reference right there and do the same thing. So now that we have access to the inventory reference, we can go here and use it to maybe get the main container here, and then add a new inventory item there. And we do have the item here, the info about the item, so I can just plug in the item ID. I can plug in the count, and the slot is going to be -1, and that's essentially it. So I need the data table as well, so it's available here. There you go. So I'm gonna plug it there. Now I'm going to click on the hide the stuff that I don't need, and there you go. So I can also try rotate it, and that's it. So now, and of course we need to figure out what to do with the actor, of course. We can destroy it maybe, so destroy for now. Later maybe we can equip it to the character. We'll do it this way. So there you go. So once we add it to the inventory, we'll destroy it. But first I need to make sure that it actually got added. There you go. So if it's added, then I can destroy it. Otherwise, we're just simply, maybe there's not enough space, we can simply say can add, for example. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a try now. So we have to press F to pick up the item here, and then press F, and there you go, and should have it in our inventory right there. So let's go at this time with the inventory open, so that we can see it happen. So I'm going to open this and then press F, and there you go. It disappeared, and the weapon is now here. Now that we have our pickup system working, we can go customize our inventory a little bit. Maybe add some helmet slot, maybe some tactical rig, backpack, weapon. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to my widgets folder here, so, and then main inventory here. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this one. And then maybe I'll leave like a small inventory somewhere here, but I'll definitely make some slots first. So let's go ahead and move this somewhere here. So I'm going to use the X here and just move it to the right side there. Okay, so let's go ahead and maybe add all this to a border or something. Let's see, we have a vertical box, then a spacer, and then the content. So that would be the backpack content. So let's just go ahead and do backpack, horizontal box. So let's go ahead and wrap with a horizontal box here. Okay, and then everything here with a vertical box. Okay, so we're going to have a vertical box that has some horizontal boxes. So this all depends on the layout that you want to make here, but we can simply like easily just copy this like border with the text here, and then the container thing. So we can just copy this one right here, to copy, and then add it to the horizontal box here, so that we have like maybe another thing. But first here I'm going to add another horizontal box here to the vertical box right there. So at the top there we can maybe make a helmet or something like that, and inside this one then I can paste that one. So this one maybe will be my helmet. So I'll change the text there and I'll say helmet. Okay, and then I'll select that one. I'll change the IDs later, but it's an equip to as well, 120, everything is the same except for the supported items here. I'm going to change this to a helmet. Okay, let's go ahead and add boots, I guess. So I'm going to copy this one right here and then paste it over the vertical box right now, and then I'm going to call this boots, for example. And then of course here and the supported items I'm going to select shoes here. Of course this one can take okay, so select the border here and maybe do that, and then for the content is going to be in the middle. We'll add some spacers later, but for now let's go ahead and move this entire thing up there. So we'll do the Y, not the size there, so the position Y here, so let's put it there. And then finally we'll maybe add a rifle slot there. So vertical box here, once again, do this, paste, and that will be my rifle or weapon. Let's just call it weapon. For the size here, I can change the X here to 300, for example, since the weapon is going to probably be like a 5x2 or something like that. This one right here, I'm going to select the border, and then I'm going to fill here and here as well, and then the content is going to be in the middle. Let's go and add some spacers here. So I'm going to put a spacer. We can also select the horizontal boxes here and, change the alignment if you want. So maybe we'll make them on the right side here. We might have to deal with the backpack content. Maybe we might have a special setup for that. But for now, let's just go ahead and give it a try. So I'm going to make this container a container ID of 1. This is 2. This is 3. And this is 4. So later, if we need to add more things, we can come back here. So let's make sure that this is supporting the right thing. So helmet and the backpack there, and this is shoes, and this is a rifle there. So now if we play here, and of course we pick up the rifle, we can maybe equip it. So let's pick it up there, and we have the rifle here, and now I can drag it here, and the weapon is equipped to the character. Well, not the character, to the inventory. So later we'll handle the attachments there, and I can of course unequip it or equip it. So now that we have our rifle pickup here, we need to indicate it here so that if we want to drop the item, we can do it. So in the actor class here, I can select that rifle. So we have the Y_rifle, there you go. So we also need to make a backpack, mag, and some bullets as well, maybe some a helmet as well. So let's go ahead and make a helmet, since we do have a helmet here in my inventory here. So let's see what we have here. We have a backpack, we have boots, and we have helmet. So let's go ahead and actually add those to the data table. So I'm going to right click there. Maybe we'll make another data table for armor. So let's go ahead and actually do that. So going to data here, and I'm going to duplicate this one. Control W should do that. So this one is going to be data, maybe armor. So I'm going to remove here and going to add. And for row name here, we'll start with the helmet here. Same thing for the ID. And for the type here, it's going to be a helmet. Common, doesn't matter. So helmet here, and the same here. Okay, so for the slot dimensions, we can make it a 2x2. Item name, helmet. Display name, of course, helmet as well. And of course, it's not a container, so we'll simply have to do the data armor here. So there you go. So this is our helmet right now. We don't have the actor class yet. So we do have the backpack. Now we only need boots, so let's go ahead and add boots there. Actually going to duplicate this one right there, and then I'm going to change this to boots, and then here boots as well. So we do have some boots there and here as well. And of course for the slot dimension, I'm going to make it maybe a 2x1, why not? Or like a 1x2. Yes, so Y is going to be 2 there. So everything is the same. Maybe the name here, boots, and then boots. And of course, everything is the same here. It's not a special container or a container at all, so we should be fine here. Now we can make the pickups here. This is going to be equipped to the character, so let's go ahead and actually do that right now. Okay, so I think for boots, it has to be a skeletal mesh, of course, so that it follows exactly the animation. And for the helmet, maybe we'll make it a static mesh, depending on what we have. So let's go ahead and start with the boots here. So I'm going to select the mesh and then go to add component, and then I'm going to select skeletal mesh there. I'm going to name it boots scale. Okay, and then here I can preview it right there. So I can do boots, for example. So I do have an SK boot here that I can use, and if we go to it here and open it, what you're going to notice here is that it has the same skeletal tree as the main character. That's why it's able to follow the animation exactly. So as you can see, it's not following the animation here. So what you need to do here is you need to go to the construction script of the character and get the boot scale here, and look for sit master pose component. So for the master bone component is going to be the main mesh right there. So now if we compile, and as you can see, the boots are now following the animation exactly. So it's the same thing for like an armor, shirt, pants, etc. So for the helmet here, we can either have the same thing as this, or if the helmet is like doesn't have like a skeletal tree similar to the character, we can attach it to a bone. So a helmet would work just fine with a bone and the character. However, for like gloves, for example, you can't do that. So if we go ahead and duplicate this one right here, so duplicate, and I'm going to call it helmet scale. So we can do the same thing here and go to the construction script and drag the helmet as well and add it to the target. Now if I compile, as you can see, the helmet follows the animation perfectly. But for now, this is we're gonna leave these both of them skeletal meshes right there. So by default, we're going to clear these two. Okay, and that's it. So now when we equip a helmet to the character, we will, of course, set something here. So inside the character, we can handle the equipment events of the inventory. So since the character has access to these components here, it makes sense to handle the events inside the character itself. There's nothing wrong about handling the same event multiple places. So it's totally fine, but for the character, we're going to make the character handle those events specifically here for the helmet and all the equipable slots. So first, let's go ahead and rename these. So this one, I'm going to rename it equip to helmet. And of course, this one is backpack already. This is going to be boots. And this one is going to be weapon. And we also want to make the create the pickups here. So let's go ahead and do that as well. So let's go ahead and make our backpack pickup here. So if I go to the pickups folder here, the backpack is a static mesh. I don't have a skeletal mesh backpack. So what we need to do here is we need to create a static mesh version of the main pickup class. So I'm going to right click here, create a child, and then do y underscore main pickup class, and then underscore static. Okay, so this is our static mesh version. Let's go ahead and open that. And of course, we're going to add a component, and this time it's going to be static mesh. Okay, so this is going to be our static mesh here, and then I'm going to make pickups of this static mesh. So now I can go back here, and then I can maybe do a new folder and call it containers for pickup containers, and then I'll create this. I'll right click on the main pickup class static, and then create a child, and then that one I'll call it backpack. Then I'll drag here over the containers there, and then here we go. So we have a y underscore backpack. That's our backpack pickup. It has a static mesh, and we can now set a backpack, the backpack mesh here that I have. So if this was a skeletal mesh, I would have created a child of the main pickup class underscore scale because it has a skeletal mesh component. So going to select the box extent here and try to adjust things a little bit here. So maybe 22 there. So I'm going to select the box here and go to the simulate physics here and enable that, and then check the collision preset here. I'm going to do custom for the collision enable. It's going to be both query and physics, and then it's going to be ignore the camera, block the visibility, and of course block the world and static and dynamic. But for now, this is all we need in terms of course customization. But we can click on the class defaults here, and then I can select the item ID, which is backpack there, and for the data table it's going to be so I'm not sure where I put the backpack here, so maybe it's in weapons. I think let's check here. Yeah, so backpack is under weapons, which is totally fine. Should probably put it like in containers, data table, or armor. So for now it's under weapons, that's fine. So this one doesn't matter here. So if I place this in the world, let's see what happens here. So I'll put it here near the that one, and then I'll play and see if I can interact with the backpack there. And it should be backpack as you can see. And of course, if I press F there, I should add it there. And of course, it has this special container there. And if I add it here, let's see what happens. All right, so that's pretty nice. So what we need to do here is probably equip the backpack to the character. But before we do that, let's continue with creating all the pickups that we are going to work with here. So what we have here remaining is the helmet. We still don't have a helmet, and we don't have a boot pickup version. Also, don't forget to go to your data weapons here, or wherever the pickup is, and go to the pickup actor class here and select the backpack that you just created. So y_backpack. So let's go ahead and make our helmet here. So the helmet, I'm going to use the static mesh for the pickup version, because the pickup version is going to be destroyed and a helmet skeletal mesh is going to be equipped. Same thing for boots. So that's why I'm going to simply duplicate here. So I'm going to look for duplicate, and then I'll call this helmet. And once again, Control W to quickly duplicate as well, and then I'm going to call this boots. Okay, and I can then open both of them and then simply change this to, so this is what? This is helmet. I can change it to helmet here, and this is going to be data armor. Okay, and then I can open this and then change the static mesh here. So I do have a helmet, I think. Static mesh, there you go. So that is our helmet there. The pivot point is a bit off, so we're just gonna drag it there. And then of course select the box extent and change things a little bit here. Okay, there you go. So that looks acceptable, and we can put the helmet here. Same thing for boots here. So I'm going to select the settings, boots, and of course boots is under armor, I think. And then of course open the full blueprint and then change the appearance here. So let's see if we have those boots. Okay, and that looks good enough for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the boots here, and let's see if we can actually but before that, of course, we need to go to the data here, armor, and then helmet, and we need to select that actor class, y_helmet, and the same thing for boots here, so y_boots. So boots is, or helmet is in our data. Okay, so there you go. So we have this data weapons, which is wrong here. So we're working on data armor. So make sure that you actually set the right data table. So data armor for both of them here. Very important. Okay, so now let's give it a try once again and see what happens. So we should be able to add the boots here. Press F, there you go. And same thing for helmet, there you go. And of course they can be equipped to the character there. Of course we didn't set the supported items, I don't think. Or maybe we forgot to make the type here. So this is still a helmet, so this one needs to be boots here, or shoes. There you go. So now we should be able to equip the shoes. So this is our F button here to pick up items. I went ahead and removed the add to container blueprint there, because now we're gonna be auto equipping things. So if we don't have something available like a rifle or a helmet already equipped, then we equip it automatically. If we don't have it, then we add it to the main container. So let's go ahead and make a function that adds things to the main container. So I'm gonna go create a function. So I'm going to rename this add item to main container. So this one is gonna take a it's gonna require an if item info structure. So we're gonna do item info here, and then for the type here, so if item info. And then what it's going to do here is going to grab the inventory reference here, and then the main container here. Okay, so that's our main container here. And then look for add new inventory item there. And of course, we can simply get the break this item info here, and then get the item ID there, and then get the data table. So I can click here and select the data table reference there, and of course the count as well. There you go. And of course return whether it was added or not here, and that should be it. So now we can use this function to simply add an item to the main container. But now we want to auto equip things. So before we do that, let's go ahead and make some sockets first. So we're going to find the mesh here, and then I'm going to open the mesh, then select the animation tab, and then maybe look for some idle here. So we'll use the idle iron sight here. And then we'll make some sockets for the backpack and for the weapon itself. So I'm going to select the spine 3 here. I'm going to add a socket here, and I'm going to name this backpack. Okay, so then I'm going to right click on that socket, add preview asset, then select the backpack mesh, and I'm going to quickly just make it look acceptable here, and of course something that is just acceptable. I'm not trying to do something crazy. I'm gonna also select spine for my rifle off on the back, of course. So add socket here. I'm going to name it rifle off. And then I'm going to right click here, add preview, and then I'm going to select that stock rifle that I have here. Here we go. I'm going to move it here. Okay, so that looks acceptable. And now for the right hand here, I can select it here, hand underscore R, add socket, and then once again we can do rifle on this time, and then the same thing, add preview asset. And of course, it's going to be the same thing here. So rifle, stock rifle here, and then I can just rotate it real quick here. Okay, so that looks acceptable for now. So these are the sockets that we need. So rifle on and off, and backpack. Since we're going to be dealing with multiple like weapons, it's probably better to make like a data table that is specific for weapon sockets and maybe equipment, maybe some skeletal meshes for the helmets and armor, etc. So we're going to the data here, and we're going to add a new data table. So this data table is going to, like I said, have information about sockets and skeletal meshes, etc. So data table here, and we're going to select the structure called, so equipment mesh data is the structure that we're going to use for this data table, and we're going to name this data maybe mesh socket info. Okay, and then if we open it, now we have a item ID. If I click on the plus sign here, I can enter an ID. Now the ID needs to be the same one from the pickup data table. And then of course you can specify what skeletal mesh gets equipped. So this is going to be for armor, helmets, etc. Boots, you're going to specify what you want to equip to your character. And then if it's a weapon that gets attached to the character, we can specify these sockets here. So this makes it easier to organize things if we were to add this information inside the if item info itself. It's just going to get out of hand eventually. Like the more information you need, the more you're going to keep adding, and eventually it's going to be way too big. So this is why we're trying to organize things a little bit better. So for the item ID here, I'm going to start with my rifle. Row name, very important, the same thing. And then for the socket here, I'm going to do rifle on, and this is rifle off. There we go. And then for the helmet, the same thing here, helmet. And here, helmet as well. Except that now I don't need sockets, I just need to specify what helmet you want to equip. So I'm going to select the yellow one here, and for the boots, same thing here, boots. Now these IDs, like I said, they are from the main pickup, or like the pickup data tables, the armor and weapons, etc. So boots here, and then we'll select here boots as well. So now we can use some kind of function inside the character to get this information. So I can create a function, and I can name it get socket mesh info, for example, and this one is going to return. So for the type is going to be like the equipment mesh data there. So I'm going to simply name it info. So this function is going to use that data table. So get data table row here, and then we're going to use that data table. So data underscore mesh socket info, and of course it needs an ID here. So we'll just put it there, and then return this one right here. So we will use this function to find a certain item ID here. So let's just rename that item ID, and then get its socket info for a rifle or whatever. So now we can create our function for detecting whether we have like a rifle or a helmet already equipped. So then we decide what to do. So I'm going to create a function that detects if we already have something equipped, so we decide what to do. So we're going to do check auto equip here, and then this one will accept a item info here. So we're going to call it item info here, and for the type is going to be if item info. And of course it's also going to take that pickup reference here, so it's going to be the main pickup reference here. Make sure it's the parent, the absolute parent class here. So we're going to name that pickup here, pickup ref. So once we press F here, then of course I need to cast this to the main pickup class here. There you go. So once I do that, I can then call the function to decide what to do with this pickup right here, whether to equip it directly or to add it to the main inventory here. So we'll put that there and then get the info from here. Oops, we do have an interface for that. So get the info and of course pass it there. Okay, so now we need to handle everything in this function now to decide what to do. We have this one, so we can break it, and then we have the type. So we can decide what kind of equipment this is by either the type or the ID. So we can use the type here. So let's go ahead and use a switch on type here, or is just an item type here. So I'm gonna hide everything else here. We're gonna try to equip to the rifle, all these slots if we have them. However, if we fail, then we will try to equip it to the main inventory or to the main container. So first of all, we're gonna try this, okay? And then of course we will get here if we can hit like a return node or something. So later we'll add a return node so that we never get here anyway. But if we never hit a return node, then we're gonna get here, and then I can call the add item to main container here. And so of course it's gonna take that one. So if it's true here, then I'm going to destroy this actor, because generally if an item is going to be inside the container, I can choose to destroy it if I want. So there you go. So we're gonna get this out of the way now. If we can equip it, we add it to the main container and destroy it. So now we can only handle when we want to equip it. So rifle. So if it's a rifle, we can check our weapon container. So I can get the inventory reference here, then I can get the weapon container, and then I can check if this is equipped or not. And the way to do that, you can just simply use the get equipped item ref, and if this is going to return false or true, and then the item reference if you need it. So we're going to do a branch here. So for the rifle here, so if this is false, so we need it to be false of course, we can try to equip this this rifle. So I'm going to call equip item, or equip item. There you go. So equip item, and of course you need the item ID. So we already have the item info here. So if you want to avoid like kind of doing this every time you need to work with this item info, you can actually search for it here. So all you need to do is just write var and then the name of the variable. So item info, and there you go. So variable item info here, and then you can break it. So this variable is just the function input there. So I can plug the that there, and then finally the data table here, and then I can hide that one, and we should be fine here. So so this is very important. If it's equipped, we don't want to get here. We want to prevent going to this place right here. So that's why if it got equipped, let's go ahead and return. Okay, so return means exit the function. Don't go here. But of course, before we do this, we need to actually equip the item to the character itself. If it got equipped here, I'm going to do a sequence here so that once I'm done, then return. This is just ensures that I'm going to return once I'm done with this blueprint here. What I can do here is I can get the mesh here, and then I can attach component to actor, or actor to component. So we're trying to attach the actor, the pickup actor, to the component here, and of course the pickup reference, of course, is the one we need. So once again, var pickup reference. There you go. So that's what we need here. And of course, for the socket name here, we'll get that from the other function, from the data table, if you remember, the one where we indicate the skeletal meshes and sockets. So this one's going to be snap to target, and for the scale, I'll just do keep world. So now I need to use this function right here, get socket mesh info, which is going to get me the sockets from the data table. And of course, for the item ID, I can just get it from here. So get item ID. There you go. And here I can then I can just break this info and take the socket name here. So break, and then I can take either the equip to or the inequip. Since we haven't done any rifle states in our animation, let's just go ahead and take the socket on the back of the character. So before we try this, we actually need to correct this one. This one is not, we should take the false here. So we're trying to find if it's not equipped, not that it's equipped. So we need this one to be not equipped. That's why we need the false here. Okay, so once we are, if it's not equipped, we take the false, then we equip the item and attach it. So now if we play, we should be able to equip the rifle to our back here. So as you can see, it got equipped there, and of course we need to turn on physics there. But if we now that we have a weapon equipped, if we try to pick up this one, it's gonna go here. Okay, so I'm going to interfaces here and open the jig interface interface or jig interact interface, and then I'm going to add a new function called on item used here. I didn't say on equipped, so because I wanted to work for other things such as containers, etc. So let's just use a general term such as use. Okay, so use could be equipped as well. Of course, we need a boolean here, so true or false, use or not. So we're gonna use and under question mark there. So now I can go to the main pickup class here. There you go. So this is the main pickup class, and then I can right click here and add the implementation. So now if it's used, we want to turn off physics. If it's not, we're going to turn them on. So just take this one and do set simulate physics, and of course we can copy paste, but let's just go ahead and be smart about this and just do it in one node here. So if it's used, I want to turn off physics. I don't want to simulate, so this has to be the opposite. So for that you need to do not boolean here. Okay, so now if I well, of course I need to execute this interface on it. So we'll go back to the character here. So that was in the main pickup class, of course. So once I do this, so before you equip it, of course, we want to do it here. So on used, and of course we can use the message call here, and of course you want it to be true. So before you attach it, we want to say, hey, you are being used or equipped or whatever. So once that's true, this one will trigger, and the physics will be turned off. Now, of course, this will work, but there's another problem here. So as you can see, of course, the weapon is still attached, not falling. But so as you can see, the weapon location is not quite right from the socket that we previously handled. So the reason is because we were attaching the pickup here, and of course the skeletal mesh component is not exactly at the center. So that's why we need to reset the location when the item is equipped and then put it back when the item is not equipped. So we only need to do it once for the main skill and main static. So I'm going to do the pickups here. So we have a main skill here, main pickup class skill. That's where we need to do it here. And so what you need to do here is we're going to use the begin play. Whenever you use a begin play, for example, you need to call the parent function. Same thing for interfaces as well, like we're going to see in a moment here. So add call to parent function. Very important. So once we do that, now I can get the skeletal mesh here and get relative transform here. And then I can save that. So I can save that one, and I'm going to call it default TR, for example. So I'm going to do that there, and I should do the same thing for the static mesh version here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy. So I'm just going to copy this one in here and paste it here, except that this one will use the static mesh version. So here I need to right click and of course promote or create a variable there. So the issue here is essentially that if you go to the rifle, you can see if we select the skeletal mesh, as you can see the location is not 0, 0, 0. That's why it's when we equip the pickup itself or attach it to the character, it's not quite right. So we need to reset these to 0, 0 when the item is equipped, and then put it back when the item is dropped to the ground, for example. So to do that, we simply here, so you don't want to do it in the rifle itself, you want to do it in its parent class, because then it's going to carry over to every other pickup. You don't have to keep doing it. So this is a one-time setup only. So we are in the main pickup class skill. What you want to use here is use the same interface, which is the on item used. Okay, so when the item equipped, I'm going to reset the location of the skeletal mesh. But very important, because this is a child class, you need to call the parent function as well. So we're going to use this. There you go. So that's taken care of. And now we can decide, okay, what is it used? Okay, so is it used? If it's true, then we will set the skeletal mesh here, set relative location and rotation to 0. Okay, very important. Of course, you can teleport, that's fine. However, if it's not, then we're going to set relative location and rotation here if it's not equipped. Okay, but we're gonna get the value from that default TR that we saved earlier on the begin play, and then we're gonna just break those here, there, and we should be fine here. Of course, I can copy paste this one, put it on the static mesh version as well, and I'm just going to use the static mesh here, hold control, move both of them here, and there you go. So now if we equip the rifle, what you're going to notice is that it's exactly the same as the socket. So as you can see, it's perfectly in perfect position right there, and we took care of the simulation issue as well. So there you go, that takes care of it, and only done once, and the parent class is here. So let's go ahead and close both of them here. So for the backpack here, we're going to use the same thing. So it's exactly the same thing, just that the container is different here. So we can, of course, we can make a dynamic function that like takes care of this like in a smart way, but for now let's just copy paste. I think the idea is pretty clear here. So copy paste, and this is going to be for the backpack. So let's see, where's my backpack here? There we go. Okay, so this is a backpack, and all you need to do here is, of course, just switch from the weapon to the backpack here. So get backpack there, and hold control, move that there, and I think that's all we need here. Here, instead of this one, we can take this, the main one, equip scale. I'm not sure if I set the backpack and this the data table. Not that one, so we'll use the equip to socket there. There you go, and then compile and save. Let's verify. Going to data here, socket. Okay, so we don't have a backpack here, so we need to add the backpack here. So add the backpack there, backpack here, and the socket is going to be backpack. Okay, let's just put in everything here. It's the same thing anyway. So let's give it a try here, and so this is our backpack there. So let me equip it, and as you can see, it got equipped just fine. So there's another problem with the widgets here, mainly the inventory here. So the event construct only triggers if you open the widget, if you show the widget. So if we don't show the widget and then we equip a backpack, this will never be handled because the widget is never on the screen, was never on the screen. So if, let me show you here. So if we pick up this backpack here and then show it, as you can see, we don't have the content. And that's because this was never handled. So what you need to do here is the moment you create the widget, you need to call this function here, or the new event, which is event initialized. So event on initialized now triggers even though the widget was never added to the viewport. So now I can get the backpack here, and of course everything is handled already. Also, if you get problems like this, for example, watch this. If I get the backpack and then I start to run, of course I'm gonna get pushed, and that's because the backpack has collision enabled, or mainly collision that blocks your character. So we need to make sure that the static and skeletal mesh has no collision, or at least query collision that doesn't block the character. So we'll go fix that right now. So I'm gonna go to the main static here and check the collision of the static mesh here. And as you can see, it says block all dynamics. So we don't want that. We want no collision for now, or maybe customize it so in such a way that it doesn't block your character. So no collision here. And let me see if it carries over to the backpack here. Okay, it seems it does, because now we have to save them. So let me check here. There you go. So no collision. Cool. Same thing, of course, for the skeletal here. Where is it? The static. This is skeletal. Check the collision. I think skeletal is by default has no collision, so it should be fine here. So let's go ahead and take care of the helmet here. So for the helmet is pretty straightforward. All you need to do here is same thing here. We can check once again if it's equipped, and of course this time we're gonna take the helmet here. Okay, so we'll check if it's equipped here. You can make a macro for this as well to make it like smaller, but let's just go ahead and do that. Where's the helmet here? So this is our helmet here, coming from the helmet option here of the switch on enum. And then if it's found, if it's false, we're going to of course call in the same function here. So we're gonna copy this. If it's false, then we're going to do the same thing, except now for this container, for the helmet container. And if it gets equipped, of course, once again, I'm going to do the sequence here, and then I'm going to return after I'm done. Okay, let's go ahead and put this down a little bit here, so just isolate things a little bit. Okay, so if it got equipped here, what I need to do here is, of course, I do need to destroy the item because I don't need it. So let's go ahead and get the destroy node here. Okay, so we need to destroy the item for sure. Git pickup ref. Okay, so because it's a skeletal, because it's, you know, it's I'm not gonna attach the helmet itself, the pickup version. I'm going to get it from the data table. So now we need to use the same this here. Okay, get the item ID from the item GSI here. So get item ID. Okay, and then get the helmet, set skeletal mesh, and the skeletal mesh is going to be coming from here. There you go. And yeah, that's essentially all we need, and it's exactly the same thing for the boots. So just get the boots from here. Or whatever the name is. I think it's shoes. Here you go. So put that there. And this is for boots right there. So if we just get boots here, put that there. And of course the same thing here. There you go. And of course here for instead of the helmet, of course I'm going to use the boots here. So let's give that a try. Here, if I pick up the boots, I should see them on the character. Same thing here for the helmet, backpack, and weapon. Okay, so we need to also fix this issue where I trace to my equipped characters or items, and I can see the thing there. So I need to make sure that I don't see that because now they're equipped. Okay, so we're going to go to the main here. So we're going to promote this to a variable. So I'm going to promote this to a variable. I'm going to use currently used, or like is used. Okay, and just fix that. So is used, I'm going to keep track of this one. And then, of course, when I'm done here, I need to end the interaction here. So I definitely need to end this one here, for sure. Even though this is true, that's fine, but this one will block the interaction later. So is used right there. So that will take care of that. And then on the can interact, I need to add another check here and do if can interact and is not used. Okay, so we have to make sure that this item is not used. We can also turn off collision here, but that's fine. So let's give it a try right now and see how that goes. Okay, so we're going to equip the boots here, backpack, helmet, and weapon. So let's see if I hover over. Okay, so I'm actually tracing to it and nothing is going on. Okay, so we fix it like that, but it's probably better if we just simply turn off collision here. So what we can do here is we can do on used. We can, instead of this, well, that needs to happen anyway, so let's just do that. And we can say, okay, if it's used, let's go and turn on collision here. So set collision enabled to no collision, and then once it's not used, we can put the collision back on. But of course, it's gonna have to be, I think, before they simulate here. But we'll see. So query enabled, query and physics. We'll go back later and fix that if we have to, because sometimes you have to set the collision then simulate. Okay, so now we need to take care of something else, which is in-equipping things. So if I have this helmet, then as you can see, I'm equipping it right now. If I in-equip it, I need to take off the helmet, of course. And that is easily can be easily handled just by handling the equip to events. So go to the character here and then event graph here. So what I can do here is handle the inventory event. So I can do it here once the inventory is created. Then I can bind certain events here. So I can get the helmet here, for example, and I can bind the event or the equip change event here. And once that happens, of course, I'm only interested in when it's not equipped. Then I can clear the helmet here. So I can do add event, custom event on helmet equipped. Okay, so what I'm interested to do here is to take the falls and then take the helmet here, then clear it. So set skeletal mesh to nothing essentially. And of course, it's going to be the same thing for everything else. Same thing for the boots. So this essentially the same thing here. I'm just going to copy paste here and of course here, and then I'm going to do event on boots equipped. And of course here I'm going to select boots. So true, we're going to handle it later, but for now we just we want to handle when the item is removed. Okay, so let me get that. And then now if I remove it, as you can see, it's going to go there. So now the issue here is putting it back, and that's where you handle the true. So how do you know if the item that got equipped is coming from a pickup or from the inventory? Because with the auto equip here, we equip the item from the item info that comes with the pickup reference. Okay, so there are two ways here. You can either not trigger this when you equip from the pickup reference, right? You can just not trigger it, and then you know that whenever this is true or triggered, then of course it's coming from the main container. Or you can just simply check the from container. If it's not valid, then that means it came from a pickup. So we could definitely select not to trigger it, but let's just go ahead and go with the other solution, because it's sometimes we need the event to stay available. So that's what we're going to do here is we are going to, let me just copy that here, just get rid of that long line. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try it with the helmet first. I'm just going to go ahead and put this here. Okay, so if it's true, I'm actually going to do is valid. So this is, if this is valid, then that means the item got equipped from another container and not off the ground from a pickup here. So we can say, okay, if it's coming from a container, then I can use the same thing here. So get socket mesh here. I'm going to get the item info, got item ID from here. There you go. Okay, from there, and of course get the same thing here, and just simply get the skeletal mesh from here. And here we go, and that's it. That's all you need. So now if we play it, so this is only for the helmet right now. You can do the same thing for boots, of course. So now if I equip that one, in equip it, it's going to remove, equip it back, it's going to be there. So that's how you know. So if this is if this triggers, that means the item got equipped from a pickup off the ground, because there's no from container, it's from the ground. So yeah, you can copy paste the same thing here if you want. So let's just go ahead and do that. Why not? Okay, so let's just go ahead and do that real quick here. So we want to do is valid here, and if it's valid, we do that. And of course here we need the boots instead of the helmet, and we should have the same result essentially. So let's go ahead and talk about dropping items here. Dropping items and preserving their content. We'll also talk about the context menu and how we can drop the item with the right click menu, and also with drag and drop. So what you need to do here is go to the inventory here on the designer here, and so we need to add the drop item back widget. So you need to add it first. So it has to be the first item. So the first item is always at the bottom. So everything else is on top of it. and then you want to anchor it on fill. So the way to do that is hold Control and then click here, and that will fill it there. If you want to modify the blur strength, you want to click here, and then you can modify the blur here. So currently is a 2, let's just put it to 1, and then that's it. So now once we do this, we can rename it here, of course, drop item back G widget. Let's just leave that name there. So now you can use the method of dragging here, and then of course dropping. We can go to the character here. So let's go ahead and do it for the backpack here. But of course, you need to keep track of your equipped items. You need their references to stay here. So when my backpack is equipped here, I need to save it to a reference here. So I'm going to promote this to a variable, and I'm going to call it equipped backpack here. And then I'm going to save it here. Once it's attached, I can save it there, so that later if I need to drop it or destroy it, I have the reference available there. So you should do the same thing, of course, with the rifle here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna select the equip backpack. I'm going to Control W there, and I'm gonna name it equipped rifle. And then of course I'm gonna drag the rifle here and then set that reference there, like so. And do the same thing for everything else. So equipped helmet, and Control W helmet, equipped boots. There you go. So now you need to set them here. So this is what is it? This is a helmet here. So helmet should go here, and that will be the pickup reference here. Just put it there, and the same thing here for boots. And of course the pickup reference. There you go. So now I have these references available, and I can work with them later when I need them. So for example, now we need to handle when we want to drop items here. Also we'll see when we have the reference available or not. Also, very important, we need to go back here. So this is this event right here. So when the helmet is not equipped, we need to clear that reference. So we need to get this one, hold Alt and drag it. So now we clear the reference. So now we know that we don't have a helmet just by looking at this reference. It's empty. We don't have a reference, a helmet here. Same thing here for boots. I'm gonna drag that there. So boots, we don't have boots. And of course we need to do the same thing here for everything else. We can handle the backpack here. So backpack, get the backpack here. And then of course bind the same event here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do copy paste here. There you go. And I'm just gonna put that there, like so. So this is the backpack. So event on backpack equipped. And of course, if it's not equipped here, this would be also the time to maybe spawn the backpack if you equip it from the inventory. But for now, we're not going to do that just yet. We'll do it later. But for now, all we care about is that if it's not equipped, we want to clear the reference here. And so finally, the rifle here. So I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to get the weapon. Get weapon. The weapon container. Put it here, and this is event on weapon equipped. And of course, if it's false, I'm going to clear that weapon reference or rifle. Okay, so there you go. So now I know when a certain weapon is equipped or inequipped just by looking at the reference. Now, of course, you can organize these in nodes or separate blueprints. Feel free to organize it however you feel right. For me, I'm going to continue working on this line here, and I'm going to handle the drop event. So the way you handle the drop event here is you get the inventory, and from the inventory you look for that drop item back G widget. So this is the thing with the blur that we added earlier. So all you need to do is look for bind, and it has like a single bind event, which is the item drop request. So there you go. So that's all we need here. And of course we need an event here, drag, add custom event on drop request. So I'm gonna grab that there, and I'm gonna try something here, see if I can do it. So I'm gonna select these. Okay, I'm going to right click and do collapse to nodes. So I'm going to rename it drop items. Okay, so I'm going to have this on its own node, and the reason is simply that I have now my own node here to work solely on a drop item request. Okay, so this is the drop items here. So what we need to do here is to figure out where it's coming from and what the item is, and if the item is equipped or not, or is it in the main container. The first thing you need to do here is to check if this is a equipped to or not. So is equipped to. Okay, so this will tell you whether it's an equipped to or not. An equipped to, once again, is these. These containers are equipped tos because you can equip stuff in them. This is an inventory type. So if it's equipped to, then that means it's coming from here, one of these. So let's go ahead and handle the helmet first. So the helmet, when it's equipped, it gets destroyed because we don't need to equip the helmet pickup itself. We equip a skeletal mesh that we get from the data table. So that's why in this situation, we will have to spawn the pickup. So helmet here, the container ID is 1. Okay, so we're gonna work with container IDs here. So container 1 means it's a helmet. So I can say, okay, if I go to the character here, so I can get container ID, and then we're gonna do switch on int. Okay, there you go. If it's false, it's probably the main container. But right now we're interested in this one and the normal containers. So I'm going to add this. I'm going to say it doesn't have a default pin. That's fine. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So the helmet here, in our case here, is container 1. So we are interested in this one right here. So what we're going to do here is simply saying, okay. So we do have a helmet reference here, as you can see, but these are not actually needed because, like I said, the helmet gets destroyed anyway. So this is always null. So we're actually not going to work with these at all. But I'm just going to keep them in case something comes up. But for now, we know that these are useless right now because the helmet gets destroyed anyway. So the first thing we want to do here is inequip the helmet container. And we're going to do that like that. So we're going to get the helmet container here. And what we're going to do here is get the equipped item first. Get equipped item reference first. Get the info from it, and then get the actor class. And this is what we're going to do here. We should have an actor class here, so we want to spawn actor from class. And that's what we want to do here first. But of course, you can make this into a function first. So let's go ahead and do collapse to a function because we needed to spawn the item in front of the character. So I'm going to rename this spawn item. So I'm just going to name it spawn actor here, or spawn item. So we're going to take it from here. And once I do that, then I can inequip this, this container right here. So inequip, and we can trigger the item just fine. I don't have to set the skeletal mesh of the helmet because remember, that's already handled in here. Okay, that's already handled here. So I only need to spawn the character, and that's it. So if I go back to my graph here, like that, drop item, here we go. So spawn the item and be done. And of course, trigger the item so everything else is also handled. So of course now make sure that the actor class is actually set in the data tables here. So if you go to data here and then armor, you need to make sure that the actor class is set, and that is exactly the pickup version, which is the y_helmet here. So going back to the character here, that's essentially all I need for the helmet. So if you can do this for the helmet, you can also do the same thing for the boots. So that's why I'm not going to cover the boots here. I'm just going to go to spawn item here, and I'm going to use this actor class to spawn the item in front of the character. And for the transform here, we're going to make a I'm going to make transform here. And for the location here, I'm going to get the get actor forward vector here and get actor location. And then I'm going to add that to this one. I'm going to do add here, add vector, and then I'm going to multiply this by some float. And then that will be the location of this spawn. And I can drop it 200 units in front of the character. For the collision handling, try to adjust location but always spawn. So now if we actually equip a helmet and try to drop it, it will be dropped. There you go. Get it again. There you go. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same thing here, but with the context menu. So first of all, the first thing you want to do for the context menu to work, you need to go to your player controller here and open your player controller and add the jig context menu component there. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do here. And now that we have it, now we can go to our character and handle the context menu events. What I'm going to do here is get player controller. I guess I already have that here somewhere. So let's see. Here we go. So I have it here. I can do it here. So I can get that jig component, or the context component, and now I can bind the event on option selected. And this is my event. So based on this, so event on jig context option, and this will give me what option it is. If I check it out, so equal num, as you can see, use, equip, and equip, drop, destroy. So this depends on, of course, the enumeration that you want to use, and of course the item that you want to drop, and from what container. So this is, of course, we're going to use it. We're going to use it here. So we're going to use a sequence. So first we're going to go here, then here, because here we set the inventory reference, and then we can go down here. Okay, so make sure that this reference is available first, and then we can work with it here. So I can really quickly here make a function. So let's go ahead and make a function here. So handle context menu. Okay, so let's go ahead and do context here, jig context menu. So options, and then we need a item ref, a GSI item ref, and GSI container. So GSI slot and GSI container. So item ref and from container. I'm using a function because it's easier to work with than an event. So I'm going to use this like that, and I'm going to forward this event to this function. So now I can handle it here. And function, I can create local variables, and I can have more control. So we'll handle the drop. We can do switch on this option, of course, and of course if it's use, equip, and equip, drop, destroy. So if it's in equip, we can try to in-equip the item to the main container. So let's start with that. So if it's an in-equip here, I'm gonna get the inventory reference here. Okay, I'm gonna get the main container here. Get main container, and since I have the reference, I can use the function of add item by ref. So add item from jig here. So in-equip here. And then I can link that there. And once again, because this is a function, I can just use this, get item ref here. So I don't have to keep wiring here. So there you go. Try rotated, fine. Okay, so this will actually work with anything here right now. Anything that I can in-equip, I can do it here. So let's see. So if I equip a helmet and boots, I can actually right click now and do in-equip, and it goes there. There you go. And of course now we need to handle equip here. So for the equip, you have to check what is the item type, and of course figure out where it should be. But there's actually a trick here to do it without doing all that, and of course is to simply try to equip it to all of them, because there is a built-in checks for whether it's supported or not. So if you just simply do this, if I get all the containers, so helmet, get the helmet, and boots, backpack, and what we got here, we got the rifle, so weapon. Do we only have 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have 4, and now you can do equip from jig reference. So you can link all of them here. Okay, and then give it the item. So now if we try it out and play, let's go ahead and do this, and then of course get the helmet. So now I need of course to unequip them here, and now if I click on equip, as you can see, it's going to be equipped there just fine. So that takes care of equip and unequip. And use, of course, you have access to the item type and from what container, so you decide what to do when it's used. Maybe it's a consumable. I guess we can make some health system at some point and use like an apple to heal. Okay, so now we want to do the drop here. So okay, so the easiest way to do this is to simply get the back drop G here, and then call the item drop request like that. Okay, so we have access to the item reference. Okay, and the item reference of course has access to the item info. So get item info, and of course for the count is gonna be get count. Simply get count here. Of course sometimes that doesn't work. Get count, here we go. And of course the container is from container. So we're gonna call this, which is previously handled anyway. So now we should have the same result, essentially just going back to the same logic. So drop, there you go. So we simply called this event dispatcher, which is previously handled anyway, which in here. So let's look for it here. So drop items, here we go. So because we called it, this one will be triggered and everything held here is already handled, so that way we don't have to keep repeating the same logic like in different places. So let's go ahead and talk about how to preserve items when dropping like a backpack, for example. So a backpack full of items, how to preserve it. So I'm going to the graph here of the main inventory, and I'm going to get rid of the mouse button down here of the backpack. So because that was moving the backpack to the there. So this is all I need right now. So I'm going to also add some default items here, and I think I can do it from here. So I'll go to default items here. I'm going to add a mag here from the data weapons, and then there you go. Maybe add a okay. So that's all I need right now. So let's go ahead and play. And the ID here is that we want to get the backpack here, move this here, for example, and drop the backpack. And of course, that's not handled yet. So we want to drop the backpack, of course, and pick it up again and have the mag stay there. Same thing for attachments on weapons. It's going to be essentially the same thing anyway. So let's go handle the backpack event here. So inside the character here, I want to handle the drop event for the backpack. So I need to get the ID here. So backpack, what is the ID here? Is number 2. So I'm going to the character here, and I'm going to handle this one right here. So since we already have the reference of the backpack available, we can simply just move it, detach it from the character and move it. But ideally you would probably just want a skeletal mesh, normal skeletal mesh, that you can, just like the boots and helmets, instead of having like a backpack be attached to the character. Just makes things a little bit complicated. But for our case here, we're gonna use the backpack reference that we have and move it in front of the character. So we're going to detach from the actor. Okay. So detach from the target here. So keep relative. It's fine. Then you wanna set the actor location here. So we want to set the actor location. We'll teleport it, of course, and then we'll just copy the same thing here. And of course, we simply want the location here. Okay, so once we move it there, now we can enable physics again of the backpack. So now we can say on used, on item used here, and we can set it to false there. And so let's go ahead and see what happens here. Of course, I need to unequip the backpack container here. So I'm gonna grab that from here and get backpack container here. So there you go. So let's go ahead and try it out here. So pick that backpack, go ahead and drop it here, and there you go. Let's see if I can pick it up again. I can. Okay, so the idea here is that we want to do this, drop it, of course pick it up again, but as you can see we don't have the magazine there. So that's what we're trying to do here. So we need to find a way to preserve that content. And what we're going to do here is we're actually going to transfer the item info of the equipped item to the item itself. So this backpack right here is not an actor, is it? It's a main pickup class. So we already have this, so we can set the info. So what we can do here is, before we inequip here, I'm going to get the equipped item, okay, and then I'm going to get the info. So I'm going to get the info from the backpack, and then I'm going to set it in the backpack reference itself. So set info here, set pickup info, and then this will set the info inside this. So now just doing this will now transfer any modifications to the item info. And this item info has the special container reference inside of it, so that will be preserved. So this one will preserve the content of the backpack info. Whatever you have modified, you can modify the name and it will be preserved. And also the special container, which of course is the content of the backpack. This does not preserve, the pickup info does not have the slot container, so we need to create a reference inside the pickup class as the slot container and then save it there. But I do encourage you to just work with special containers. They're much better. So if you're creating a backpack, make a special container. If you only need one container, it's fine. Just make a special container with one container. So in this case, we'll save the pickup info here, and then we'll unequip here, and then later when we want to equip the item back, we will actually get this info and transfer it. So if we go to the auto equip, which is the function that equips items off the ground. So if I go to the backpack here, right here, is this a backpack? No, that's the helmet. So I need the backpack here. So here we go. So as you can see, this takes a custom info. So if I link it there, now I'm going to equip the item and take any modification that I have there. So take that backpack, transfer the magazine there, drop the backpack, pick the backpack again, and the magazine is still there. So you probably want to do the same thing for everything here. So you can totally preserve this if you want. But it's especially true for containers or anything that you want to preserve, and stackable as well. And by the way, for drop-in items, it's the same procedure here for rifles. So if you have a rifle here, it's the same exact thing. And the rifle will preserve, this one will preserve attachments, because attachments are on a special container. So when you pass the special container in the pickup info, all the attachments will be preserved when you equip the item once again. So it's the same thing for anything that is equipped to the character, such as rifle, backpack in our case here. You detach, set the actual location in front of the character, set the item used to false, so physics, you know, are turned on, and collision as well, and that's essentially it. And then you equip the item here, and equip the item. So for items that are inside the main container, you probably just want to spawn them, and you're gonna use this function, right? Like just use this, and you have the item reference here. So get info here, right there, spawn the item, and remove the item from its parent. So remove from JSI parent, and you should be fine here. And of course, once again, we do want to transfer the content, so that's why this spawn item needs to return the reference of the character here. So we'll return it here. So this is going to return an actor that we need to cast to later. So now we go back here. This one will give us a value, as you can see here. So maybe we'll do here first, cast to main main pickup class, so that we can set the info here, set info, and essentially just give it the info here. We could probably just do it here, to be honest, probably, but we don't have the item info here, so that's not gonna work. So we have the info here, just put it here, pass that there, and of course remove that. So we'll do that if it fails. So there you go. So now even if we spawn an item, we do transfer the info. So if this is a backpack, for example, this pickup info is going to be overwritten when we interact with the item. So if you remember, in the main pickup class, as soon as we interact with the item, this happens. So this one will be overwritten. So what we need to do here is we need to make a function to essentially let it know that we don't want you to do this anymore, because we gave you the data that you need. So what we can do here is simply maybe create a variable called data available, okay, and then we can check that here. You can simply say, okay, I guess I'm going to rename it here to data not available, so I don't have to use the false. So data not available, if it's true, which should be of course true by default here, if it's true, then do that, because now when we pass the info here inside the character, I don't want the item to do anything. I don't want the item to override this, so I'm gonna go ahead and do set data not available to false. Okay, that's what I want to do here. So let's go ahead and do that. So if I set this to false, now I can set it here and make sure that the item is not going to override my data from the data table. So this is only a problem when you actually spawn an item. So let's go ahead and give that a try here. I'm gonna grab the backpack here, and then I'm gonna unequip it here, put the magazine. We need to take care of that as well. So now the backpack has a magazine. I can drop it, pick it up again. It's gonna have the mag there just fine. All right, so for the backpack issue, it's pretty simple. You just want to go to the item here, to the backpack here. So if it's not equipped here, so for the backpack issue, when the item is unequipped to another container, all you need to do here is to simply check that the to container is valid. So if it's valid, then we can destroy that. So I'm actually going to do a sequence here. So once done, I will clear that reference. So now if it's valid, I'm just simply going to destroy the actor here, which of course I assume is valid here. So there you go. Let's give it a try. I can grab the backpack there, and now if I remove it here, it's going to disappear there, as you can see. And of course, if I put it back, I will need to spawn it again and attach it, and that can be done here on the true. So we're going to do the same thing here. We've already done it here with the boots, but here in this case, you want to spawn the item, get the class from here and spawn it, and then attach it. So let's go ahead and handle that actually. So when the item is equipped from a container, the way to verify that, of course, is to verify this is from, so is valid here. If it's valid, then what you want to do here, so this is for the backpack there. What you want to do here is this item reference. You want to get the info here, and of course get the class. So break. And of course you want to make a function to spawn by class as well. So let's go ahead and do actor class right there. And then of course we will spawn the backpack and then attach it to the character here. So spawn actor from class. And of course this one doesn't matter because we'll be attaching it to the character anyway. So once again, this happens, this one triggers when you equip the backpack, of course, but sometimes you can equip it from another container, and in that case you need to spawn the backpack, because like I said, when an item is on another a container, it doesn't have to exist, so you destroy it, and then later when you equip it you need to spawn it again. So that's why we simply getting the sort reference here, getting the info and actor class, and then we're going to spawn the backpack and attach it to the character here. So that's all we need actually. So for the backpack here, I can get the backpack here. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to do that because I need to cast here. So cast your main pickup class here, and then I can link that there. And now I can, of course, attach this backpack to the character. So the same thing here. I'm just gonna do on used once again, on item used to true. Notice that this is not a message interface. That's because it's the class that implements the interface. That's why you have this here. So you can call it like it's a normal function. So first of all, use true, and then now we can attach actor to a component. And of course we need the sockets here. Once again, we have the function for that. We're just gonna do this. And for the parent or target is going to be the backpack here. Let's go ahead and do this here. And of course for the name here, we're gonna get it from here, or not the name, the socket here. And of course snap to target, keep world. Okay, and of course now all you need to do is the item name here. So we can just get it from this item ID. Can put it there. Let's see if that works. So grab the backpack, put it here, it gets removed, put it back, it gets spawned. Once again, this event we saw in the at the beginning of the series. This event triggers whenever you equip or unequip an item. When an item is equipped, there are, in our example here, there are two ways. One, it got equipped from the ground where we picked it up. In that case, it's already handled with the check auto equip, so we don't need to do anything. However, sometimes you can equip it from this container. So if you drag it over the backpack, then at that point we don't have a backpack actor or a weapon, for example. So it's the same thing for a weapon. So if we have to equip or attach the weapon to the character, we need to spawn it. So the way to know whether it was from the ground or from another container is by checking if the from container is valid. If it's not valid, it's coming from the ground, meaning like you picked it up. If it's valid, it's coming from another container. And in that case, you can check if you have a backpack reference. If not, well, here in our example, we know that we don't. So we use the item reference here, get the info. So we only need the actor class to spawn the actor, cast. Depending on your setup, you might not need to cast, but cast to that one on item use, get the socket and attach to the character. So the same thing applies to weapons. It's exactly the same setup. So for weapons, like I said, it's literally the same thing. Okay, it's just a different. So you can literally just copy paste this here, link that to true. This is going to be coming from the from container, so where this item came from, and this is from the slot reference. Okay, so that's all you need. And of course, this is going to be a rifle here, so you need to put the rifle here instead. And there you go. So that's going to go there. It's going to go there. Get the socket. Except that this time we're going to use the this one right here if we want. And so it's the same thing. So of course here it wants this guy. So now if we play and get the weapon instead. So now if I go here and then move this guy here, of course I don't think we have it handled here, so we probably need to handle that. So this is when the item is unequipped here. So in this case it's also the same thing here. So to know whether you dropped an item or moved it to another container, all you need to do here is to simply check if the to container is valid. So if this to container is valid here, if it's valid, then that means you move the weapon to the main container, for example. So in that case, you need to destroy the item or hide it, whatever. So in our case here, we're actually going to do this here. There you go. So, and this is what we're going to destroy. So once again, if it's not equipped, is the to container valid? If it's yes, then we destroy the item. If it's not valid, that means you dropped it all to the ground. So now we should be able to equip the rifle. When we unequip it, it goes there. When you equip it back, it shows up. And of course, that's all just with this event right here, on item equip change. And you just decide, compare the to container in this case and the from container in this case.